Hey everybody, Big Yankovic here, podcaster, author, and carnivore. And it's time for another support group. Me and Marshall Latham got together again, and we're talking about how things went after that first week of getting together, knowing that we were going to be there to support each other in the future. Marshall has started into his plan for the first week, and I got back onto my plan for the first time in a long time. So let's take a look at it. Check it out. I hope you enjoy it here on Big Yankovic on health. All right, Marshall, thanks for coming back. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I made it through the week, so that was good.
All right, cool. I'm glad to hear that. How did this week go?
It went really well. I was able to stick to my plan. I, fasted from 7 o'clock at night till 11 o'clock the next day, all week.
Okay.
And I ate a lot better. I didn't eat a bunch of junk. I didn't drink any soda. I didn't, I tried to eat as much meat as I could and avoid the carbs. Of course, I had a few, but... I tried to update my blog today because I was not good at keeping up with my blog.
I'll have to go check that out.
I was trying to catch up with that just before we started recording. So you'll see, some of the only thing I counted as a cheat was on Sunday. I had a spoonful of cookie dough and 5 thin mint cookies. So that was my only cheat where I just went for. I guess I did have thin crust pizza one day, so I don't know if that's a cheat or it's better than what I usually eat. So
yeah, you did say you were trying to keep the carbs low, but not eliminate them, as you said.
Right. So baby steps. I figure. As I continue to go, I'll just do better and better and work on that. I did go to the doctor on Monday.
Oh, okay.
And so it was kind of an initial visit. I'm going back next Monday for all the tests, all the everything. And so that'll be a good visit, but it'll be good to get back there so I can weigh in again at the doctor's office. I was... what would you call it? Surprised, disappointed, appalled by what I weighed when I was at the doctor's office. So
didn't appreciate the number on that scale.
I didn't.
Stop lying.
Yeah, it's close. It's close to where they have to pull you out of your house with a forklift.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know if it's that bad.
It's good that we're turning that around starting now then, huh?
Yeah.
So your weight at the doctor's what you're going to use as your starting weight, I'm guessing?
I am, yeah. And eventually I have a scale at home, but I'm just a little bit above what it registers. So
okay. So you'll start with that.
Unfortunately.
And you'll have another week where you go, and they'll give you another idea as to whether you came down or not.
Yeah. I'm trying to avoid having Richard Simmons show up at my house and.
As are all of us. None of us want that.
No, not at all. So.
All right.
How about you? How did you do this week?
I did pretty good too. There's something about you and I getting together and kind of being there to support each other. I think we talked about it last time around where you were talking about Weight Watchers. And I was saying, that going to the meetings and reporting to people and having that accountability as well as having the, the support. Having that really made a big difference for me. When I texted you to set this up in the first place, And you said, "Yeah, I'm down with that. Let's do it." That was the last
Yeah.
time. That was the last time that I did anything bad. Was that day that I texted you, and from then on, it's been straight staying on the diet. And this
Nice.
week, I managed to lose. What did I lose? 6.7 of the 25, 30 pounds that I gained over the last 3 weeks of being really bad. I lost 6.5 of those pounds back off. And of course, unfortunately, they never come off as fast as they go on. So
Right.
it's
For
going to take
sure.
a lot of discipline and stuff. But I feel like I've, completely turned that corner and I'm really there. I can totally do it. And I'm not particularly tempted by any of the things that I had troubles with before. Now, if I was bombarded by it again and I was, if it was just in my face all the time, it's possible that I might be tempted enough that I would give in. But, uh, we're not allowed to go to the store pretty much anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What's at the store? Yeah.
it's making it easier to avoid the temptations because, they're not as readily available as they have
Yeah.
been. So I'm glad for that. I did have, my wife came up with this uh, St. Patrick's Day tradition that we do in
Mm.
our family. One St. Patrick's Day, like 15 years ago, she came home. She was working an early morning job, and something about the St. Patrick's Day stuff that was out at the store, because she actually worked at Target early morning and did like their counting the cash from the night before or whatever. And she came out of the store in the morning and just got all interested in pumped up with the St. Patrick's Day thing. And so she got a little bucket, put a bunch of those gold coin chocolates
Oh,
in it, and then
yeah.
came home and said, "Kids, I heard on the radio that there was a bunch of leprechauns seen in the area, and that they might have left pots of gold around. You should go and look for them." And so the kids went out and they looked around the house and they found the pot of gold chocolate. And ever since
Almost like
then,
like an Easter, only
yeah,
St. Patrick's Day, huh?
it's kind of like that. And ever since then, unfortunately, my daughter remembered that the next year. And she kept going outside and looking around. She's like, "I haven't found that pot of gold from the leprechaun." And my wife's like, "Oh, crap. Can you go to the store real quick and get some candy?" And so ever since then, we've had to do that. And so, yeah, St. Patrick's Day was this week.
Yes.
And I had to go and buy a bunch of gold foil wrapped chocolates and do this St. Patrick's Day thing. And I was able to just, you know, turn my back on those. I didn't snitch a one of them. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that because it
Yeah.
was less than a week before that I would have had a whole bag's worth. Oh my gosh, I was just overdoing it really badly. So I'm feeling really, really good about that. Easter
That's
is
good.
coming up again soon, though, so hopefully I can keep my cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the stores. You said, how there's not a lot at the stores right now because of the virus and everybody being home. But I hear the candy aisles are full, and a lot of the bread aisles are full, and it's like, well, that's exactly what I don't need
Oh,
at the
see,
store. So,
the bread aisle's been ransacked where I'm at.
oh,
That's one of
yeah,
those things people think they need for food storage or whatever. They went after the bread. I had to get
yeah,
hot dog buns for a dinner that we did, and I went there, and you were only allowed to have four bread items per person.
mm,
So
well,
but you can only have one or two, I think, toilet papers. So
yeah,
I guess we know what's more important. Um, toilet paper is definitely better for you than bread. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Even eating it's probably bad for you.
A lot of fiber in that toilet paper.
That's right. Okay, so your plan is going to be similar for this upcoming week, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to stick with the fasting. Going to stick with the high or low carb, high protein diet.
Okay.
So
LCHF. That's what you need to go for. LCHF.
LCHF.
Low carb, high fat.
Ah, right. Which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Sarah Hallberg talks about a ton in that video we watched last week.
Right.
So yeah, that's definitely, you want to get more fat into your, I know we're going to talk about fat today because those are the videos I sent you today.
Yes.
I sent Marshall links to 2 videos done by a guy who goes by the name What I've Learned on YouTube.
Okay.
And his stuff is great. They were some of the first videos that I saw. And man, do I love this guy. Everything that he does is just really interesting, really well researched. It's well explained. It's. I feel like it's simple and easy to understand. It's almost like he's writing a book that's just meant for the lay person. So we'll have examples and stuff like that. And I think that's where. Oh, go ahead.
He likes The Simpsons quite a bit.
He does use a lot of Simpsons video. I think he probably gets most of his info from various books that he reads. At one point in the video, at some point, he does a commercial for like Audible, as do thousands upon thousands of other YouTubers and podcasters, etc.
Right.
But he talks about how that's how he, does a lot of the research for his channel is by listening to audiobooks. So, man after my own heart, I guess. Anyways, the first video was called The Story of Fat. Was any of that stuff familiar to you? How much of it jumped out at you as, what? I hadn't heard anything about this, or this is not at all what I thought.
Well, I knew some of these, basically that fat has got a bad rap, and it's not as bad as everybody has said for years. But I didn't know the exact history, who the guy was.
Ansel Keys.
That came up with and what it was based on. And, basically that everybody just took exactly what he said, and they said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And they developed everything, the food pyramid and everything based on the low-fat diet, or where we should have low-fat. It talked about evolution, how we used to always eat meat as a source and not eat a lot of carbs, and that we would maybe even eat the fat over the meat, which
right, yeah, eating the fat first.
Yeah. Maybe we don't need to do that now, but the fat isn't going to hurt us. It's going to help us. So, yeah, I thought that was all really good. Just to learn some of the history, where it comes from, why we've been told this all these years.
And in this video, he talked a lot about cholesterol. When I talked to you about, trying to eat more fat, less carbs, does that immediately jump into your head? Well, what about all the cholesterol? That's going to kill me.
It didn't. I mean, I thought it was interesting how he talked, because when you do think about high fat and, the reasons people give you, and you think about bacon grease that's been sitting for a long time and it's all clogged, and, try to put it down your pipes or whatever. And they try to do that analogy with your blood vessels. And so that was something that I learned, that very little fat actually gets into your bloodstream, and if it does, it's going there to help repair you rather than just clog up your arteries because it's there.
Right, yeah, I've
So
always loved that analogy that he talks about because I've seen a TED Talk after I saw Sarah Hallberg's TED Talk that we talked about last week, where the guy came out and he preached the same old BS that we've heard all this time about how you eat fat and it's going to clog your arteries. And he talked about being a doctor and having done an autopsy on somebody and finding all the cholesterol in the guy's veins. It's like, yep, this came here because he ate bad stuff. He ate too
yeah,
much meat with fat on it. And it makes me shake my head, when he says, yeah, it's like blaming the fluid that's in your blister for your burn, or
right.
blaming the firefighter that came to put out the fire for the fire.
Yes, yeah,
Well, there's always firefighters at fires, so they must be the cause of it. And it's not Fahrenheit 451. The firefighters put out the fire. And it's the same with the case with cholesterol. People get all worried when you talk about eating more fat because we've been told for as long as you and I probably pretty much have been around, at least as long as we can remember. He gives the date of 1977 as
which I thought was I guess older than I thought, or sooner. Okay, I thought it was earlier in the early 70s or in the 60s where they came up with the food pyramid, but it was actually a lot
much
sooner
later.
than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, the first dietary guidelines, like I remember when I was young, being in like first and second grade and learning about the 4 food groups instead of the food pyramid, and learning about the meat group and the dairy group and the fruits and vegetables group and the grains or the breads and cereals group. And then that changed. I don't remember exactly when it changed, but it was later on when they actually made the government food pyramid. But before that, the Heart Association and various other associations started preaching, get rid of the fat and eat heart-healthy margarine. And, oh my gosh, heart-healthy Crisco. I don't know, man, the stuff that they got us to eat. It's just kind of amazing. What did you think when you saw the video of the factory making the canola oil?
Oh, right.
You see that goo sliming out as they turn it into, and he talks about the process where you have to spray it down with some chemical and then do this and that other thing.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of folks that do even vegan diets, and they call their vegan diet a whole foods vegan diet. Right. And, for most vegetables and oils and, a lot of the stuff that they eat, it's got to be a substantial amount of processing done to things just to make it edible.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with everything, everything is processed. Everything is, been through some kind of process.
Yep. You can't just eat the raw, dead carcass of a buffalo that you caught like a mountain lion might do or something like that.
Right.
But a lot of that is why we are where we are, because we learned how to cook our food. All right.
So I guess what obviously, eating bacon, eating meat that's high in fat, that kind of stuff is a way to get your fat. I've been eating a lot of almonds this week.
Okay.
Is that a good source or not?
Almonds are good. Butter is good.
Yeah.
I used to put butter on everything. I found that I'm not one of those people that's well equipped to deal well with dairy.
Right.
It'll cause me issues. I still do I have dairy. I have been having cheese a lot recently as a kind of a help me get back on the right track kind of a thing. I've been eating
If I'm
it.
going to cheat, I'm just only going to go this far, kind of thing.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's not gonna bring up my insulin like a real cheat would. So, it's something that I love and it's better than going bad. Although it sometimes will still lead me to want to eat more. And so I got to be careful with it. My plan is to try starting next Tuesday, come to give up the cheese and get all the way down to just the meat. But
And then
yeah,
a few months ago, you were talking about ghee. I've never had
ghee.
ghee before.
Yeah, ghee. I'd never had it before either, and it has such a dumb sounding name
Yeah.
that I just ridiculed it every time somebody would bring it up on any video or anything that I saw. But I was at Aldi and they had a thing of ghee, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try this stuff. And oh my gosh, I loved it. It tasted amazing. It was like butter, but even better.
Mm.
So I don't know if you would like it as much, but that's another way that you can get fat on stuff. And I used to do that a lot when I would cook steak, and then I would just put a couple of, cut off a couple of pats of butter and just set
Yeah.
them on there, and then they would kind of melt onto the steak, and then you would just eat the steak kind of drenched in fat. And that's a good way to do it if you can't get fatty enough meat, if you have trouble with that. Although very often the fattiest cuts of meat are the cheapest because our society is turned on its head and they all think that lean meat is better. And so, the boneless, skinless, fatless chicken breast costs way more than the chicken thighs, which are the fatty parts. You can get those for much cheaper. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the good things about eating this way is that you save a lot of money by buying the stuff that most people just pass on by because they think it's bad for you. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. One thing on that regards that I did when we went to Costco and got one of their charbroiled chickens, and I told my wife, save that skin on the top, and I'll eat that
yeah,
skin.
yeah,
And
you
that
got
was
to eat
good.
the
That was really good.
skin is tasty. Yeah, you want to eat. And seriously, we'll eventually probably get around to watching a video on that kind of stuff too. But the more of the cartilage and the connective tissue and all of that kind of stuff that you can eat,
Mm.
the better it is for you too. Your body will use that to fix you. It'll take
Mm.
and even with the chicken, when you're done with it, you might want to look into bone broth, where you take the
Oh, right.
carcass and you put it in a crock pot or pressure cooker, and you steam it you boil it, you cook it for a long time, and it will draw all the minerals and stuff like that out of the bones, and then you
Mm.
just drink the soup that's left over at the end. You strain all the leftover stuff out, and you
Yeah.
drink the soup, and it just tastes like chicken soup, but it's much better than Campbell's chicken soup. It's actually good for you soup. This is the
Yeah.
kind of soup that they would give you when you were sick to make you better because it was actually good for you as opposed to what you get now.
Yeah, my wife always, I'm not always with the chicken, but definitely, with turkey, we
Yeah,
always cook up the turkey
yeah,
broth with out of the bones and everything else. So,
yeah. Every Thanksgiving, I always make sure we save the carcass for that too.
yeah.
Yeah, bone broth is something that's really good for you. And I'm sure we'll find something where we can look into that a little bit more, yeah, on a different show. But
Sure.
yeah, getting the fat is important. Get the cuts that are fattier. If you buy like ground beef, buy the ground beef that's the higher fat percentage, lower lean. They charge you more if you get the, what is it, 90/10 or whatever percentage where it's 90% lean. Get the stuff that's 73%. It's going to cost you way less and be way better for you.
Yeah.
But actually eat the fat, you know what I mean? Don't drain it all out when you're done cooking the ground beef. You'll find that, oh my gosh, it tastes so much better than it would had you just drained it all off. It's kind of amazing, you know? I didn't realize it. I'd gone
Yeah.
all these years, you know, eating low fat and stuff like that. And when I started putting fat back into my diet a few years ago, it was just like, wow, food tastes so much better now. So
Yeah.
it's really great. And the fact that you can eat that good and lose weight from it, it's just, you know, it's a blessing from above, Marshall.
I believe you. I believe you. Yeah.
Now, one thing
Now,
that
just tonight, I for lunch tomorrow, I cooked up some bacon, and
oh, nice.
then I fried up a couple hamburger patties in the bacon grease. So
Oh, nice.
very
It's gonna
good.
be tasty. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I love bacon grease as well. Sometimes I'll save it. Unfortunately, I eat so much bacon that I can never use up all the bacon grease in other ways. There was times where I even would just take spoonfuls of it and just eat it as is, because yeah, if you get the right bacon, it's, you know, I mean, I think a lot of people will say you shouldn't eat the bacon that's got all the salt and the et cetera in it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you get the bacon that does have the salt in it, the grease already tastes just amazing. It's like salted. It's got this flavor to it that's just so good
Mm.
that yeah, my wife thinks it's just disgusting. But yeah, I'll sit and just eat spoonfuls of the stuff sometimes.
I might have to work up to that one. But.
Yeah, you'll get there. You'll get there. Oh yeah. Um, one thing you do want to watch out for though with almonds, you don't want to go too overboard with them because almonds are a food that have a lot of oxalates in them.
Hmm.
And that is another thing that we will do in a future video. We'll get around to talking about oxalates and I'll teach you about oxalates. But oxalates are something that can cause you trouble. So you don't want to eat too many of them. So
Okay.
I wouldn't rely completely on almonds for your fat or anything like that. Maybe, you know, a handful or two, you know, a week or so, but you don't want to just go off on the almonds, or you may find that you feel worse than you
Right.
did before, and that's not the idea.
Yeah.
Um, all right, well, I guess we're going to call it because we've been going for a while. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming and hanging out with me again, making me accountable and keeping
Yeah.
me on the straight and narrow. Um,
Yeah. This has been great for me to know that we're going to talk each week and
all
try to
right.
keep up my diet and all that kind of stuff. So.
All right. Well, I look
So
forward to finding
I
out how
have
your doctor. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I do have a new goal.
Oh, okay.
So I started this whole thing on last Friday, which was Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be another Friday the 13th in
Yeah.
November.
Okay.
So that's 8 months away. I don't know if I can do it, but since I weigh so much, I think it will come off pretty quick.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to lose 100 pounds by November
All
13th.
right. That sounds like a
So,
noble goal, and I think you're probably right. I think you could do it.
yeah.
It will take some dedication. You're going to have to stick with it. You can't be as bad as I have been over the last
Right.
few months. You can't go off on a bender, or that will derail. I think I would have made it to 100 pounds by now had I not gone off on a bender, and I probably would have made it even in 8 months. So I think you can
Yeah.
definitely do it too. So just avoid the
Yeah.
benders. All right. So I look forward to finding out how your doctor's appointment went next week.
Yeah.
The scale
Me
gave
too.
you good news, and I guess we'll leave that as our tease for the folks to come back and watch us again next time.
Sounds good, man.
All right. Thanks, Marshall. All right. So there you go. That's what we had to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed this show. Marshall is a podcaster also like me. He runs a podcast called the Journey Into podcast. It's one of those open-ended kind of things. Journey into mystery, science fiction, fantasy, that kind of thing. So you can check that out if you're interested. Because his show is called the Journey Into podcast, I was thinking maybe I should call this thing where we get together and talk the Journey Into Health, because my other shows are already called Journey to Wonderland, so it kind of goes with the flow of all the other stuff, right? So yeah, I think I may start calling them that, the Journey Into Health, with Big Anklevich and Marshall Latham. Hope you like it and keep tuning in for more here on Big Anklevich on Health.